My my hands are shaking. This is unscripted. And I found my mountaintop. I found my message that I want to share with the world. I once saw a man. He looked just like me. His outward scars vast, mine concealed just beneath. He asked me, "Where am I now? Can I see my own child?" His voice quivering and meek. His countenance mild. It was I wearing scrubs, and he smock and gown. It pained him to utter, and I could not frown. He asked me, "How long have I been here? When can I go home? I'm anxious. I'm lonely. I have nowhere to roam. I am sick. I am weak. Will you give me your hand? For I have not within me the strength to withstand." I once saw a man. He bore pain in his eyes. My stoic front softened. Eyes no longer dry. They were wet. Tears restrained. My soul riddled with shock. Only moments ago, he was someone we mocked. He was bewildered, confused. He was often defiled, for we deemed him distasteful, merely wicked or wild. We deemed him offensive. We disparage and blame. But the shame we inflicted once tainted my name. Then a still, quiet voice whispered, "My child, come, let us see. Remember my scars. Recall not what they mean. My hands and my wrists, feet atop wandering earth. This lesson for you is a time of rebirth." Our ins and our outs, all the things that we measure. God gave me this gift that now I will treasure. I once saw a man. He had suffered just like me. My vision so faint. Now I find I can see. I know who you are, and I know of your pains. My scars reflect yours, and our souls have been maimed. Our letters of scarlet, deemed needless to bear. Divinity and purpose, beyond earthly compare. I know who you are, and I know of your pains. I can't see you, but I feel you, for I now understand. I saw myself in this moment. This was part of your plan. A moment encapsulated in time. The moment when I saw a man who looked like me. The moment I became so much more than a nurse's aide. The moment where I knew I was going to be an advocate. That's why I'm here. My name is Jenny McCombs. I am many things. I am a nurse's aide. I am a mother. I am a healthcare worker on the front lines of a global epidemic. I am a future author. I'm a sister and a friend. I don't get to be a wife anymore. The reality is, I am an addict. We are not a stain on society. The reality is, we are society. And my advocacy is to protect people like me, to give them a voice. Because it cost me everything. I am writing a 6-book series. Drowning in Madagascar. I have a very special friend who I've been writing in secret. Her name is Nora. I wanted to ask her a question, and I feel that there is no time to waste. Nora, dear Nora, in book 3, I wasn't gonna reach out to you just yet, but I feel that time is of the essence. I read your words the other day. I have them here. Even when treatments and other supports are available, people with addiction may not seek them, fearing the judgments of those around them and the discrimination they routinely experience in the healthcare system. Patients are often hesitant to disclose their substance abuse to their physicians. Government policies, including criminal justice measures, often reflect and contribute to stigma. We penalize people who use drugs because of an addiction. We suggest that their use is a character flaw rather than a medical condition. The aura of illegality affects the treatment of people with addiction. For example, some treatment programs expel their patients for positive urine samples as if they relapse. It's not simply a known system of the disorder and a clinical signal to adjust the treatment approach, but instead of actual wrongdoing. Stigma's damaging effects go well beyond impending care and self-seeking. Painful social and emotional effects like rejection, isolation, and shame, internalized stigma, drug taking to alleviate one's suffering and leads to a vicious cycle. Nora, I have been sober from polypharmacy for 3.5 years. I got off of 4 very powerful medications: Adderall, oxycodone, Ambien, Xanax. But I still carry my letter of scarlet. And just last night, I took some over-the-counter Advil that had a sleep aid in it. And I haven't told anyone except for you. Because it was an internalized stigma that led to Nora's grandfather to end his life. If we're going to talk about the current addiction and overdose crisis, we must treat combating stigma as no less important than developing and implementing new prevention and treatment tools. Research supports the lesson I learned firsthand by my own family that stigma is not alleviated solely by educating people on the science of a disease. It requires facilitating contact between a stigmatized group and the wider community. If people with substance abuse disorders can share their experiences, and empathy and compassion can begin to replace judgment and fear. Research supports the lesson. If we're going to end the current stigma, addressing stigma must be a central prong of our public health efforts. If we're going to end the current addiction and overdose crisis, we must treat combating stigma as no less important than developing and implementing new prevention and treatment tools. We need a large-scale social intervention to change public attitudes towards addiction and people who have the disease. Besides ensuring proper training and the resources needed to help patients with substance abuse disorders, we need to seriously reconsider policies, not only laws but regulations and disorders. We need to seriously promote viewing substance use as a wrongdoing, and we must make it safe for patients and families to discuss addiction and remove the shame that interferes with its treatment. And when I read that the other day, Nora, I feel like I have to reach out to you now. And I need your help. I am a nurse's aide. I am on the front lines of a global epidemic. I'm a mother. I don't get to be a wife. I'm a sister. I'm a friend. I'm a healthcare worker. My reality is that I am also an addict. And I want to be that person, that grand example that you refer to as a healthcare worker who suffers from addiction, who wears my letter of scarlet, I want to help you, and I want to facilitate the healing of so many people the world over who bear that letter of scarlet. The A is for addict, and it is needless. I want you to learn from me. I propose, Nora, my friend Nora, dear Nora Valco, of the Center for Disease and Addiction Awareness. Dear Nora Volko, I'm asking for your help. I will provide the empathy, the compassion, and the context that you so passionately illustrated that the world needs. And in return, I want to share with you my deepest secrets, my deepest shames. And I already have. I've been writing you for several weeks. And I have a gift for you. This is addiction. This is my message. If I can help one person avoid the pain of a broken family, if I can help one person shed their letter of scarlet, if I can help family members understand the complexities of my illness in turn, physiologically, psychologically, I am an addict, and I am good, and I want to bring purpose to my pain. I've made sense of my suffering. I know this is what I'm supposed to do. I want to facilitate the use of my voice because I've found it. But there are so many who are silenced by shame and scrutiny and isolation. The reality is that people who often mean well, the people that addicts are closest to and their families, the people they interact with the most, are the very people who inadvertently send damaging messages. And they hurt people. And they push them further away. And so many times they could be none the wiser. And people need to know the cultivation of empathy is essential. Compassion. We cannot afford an epidemic of ignorance. If we truly claim to love the people in our lives who are suffering the most, you need to do the homework. There is a wealth of knowledge in our world today that facilitates my message. And if I can prevent one more broken family to me, it will be worth it, because I don't want anyone to have to go through all the pain that I've been through the last couple of years. The pain, the trauma, the isolation, the stigma. It is real. And my mission and my blog is to provide context to that reality, to bring it to life. And that's what I aim to do. Bill Boulard, I have quoted several times, opinion is the lowest form of intelligence. The cultivation of empathy is the highest form, because it requires one to set aside their ego and step into the life of another. That is my mission and my advocacy. The cultivation of empathy. A repercussion of COVID on a psychological level in the mental health field. The statistical trajectory was already alarming, and I have seen firsthand. I have seen triage bays explode exponentially with mental health crises. I have seen the doe-eyed boy with his wrists bandaged, looking glazed, his eyes glazed over, and there were two women embracing, and I thought it was very touching. I thought she was a very compassionate nurse, but when they carted this young man away, he looked so innocent, and the nurse sat down next to me, and she heaved a big exasperated sigh, and she said under her breath, "It was a tough one." And it's hard working in healthcare, because the woman that she was hugging was her sister. She was her sister, and her nephew was being carted away. This is life. This is our reality. It was a 10-year-old exhibiting suicidal and homicidal ideation that I was charting on as a sitter in the ED. There was a nurse that was my coworker. I didn't know her personally, but she was in the triage bay. She had COVID, and she kept coming in. Like, when COVID started, she had been coming in every 2 or 3 weeks to the ED repeatedly, and every time she had new bruises and wounds and mysterious bruises, and she always claimed that she just punished herself, that she just threw herself down the stairs, she hit herself with a broom. But we knew, and she knew too, because she was a nurse. She knew that we wouldn't believe her from the depth of the injury, from the angle, from the contusions. But she never admitted to any illegality or of abuse. And there was nothing we could do for her. She was autonomous, and there were no psychiatric facilities available for adults who had COVID, who were independent. And so she sat in the triage bay for about a week, and she went home, and her fate was something I never knew. Time is of the essence, and I do feel an incredible sense of urgency to get my message out, because I want to declare to the world high on my own mountaintop. Taylor, this is my mountaintop. And I will do whatever I need to make my voice heard. And I will. I will.